What made Marilyn Monroe so beautiful? Did you know that Marilyn was a redhead and that she dyed her hair? Welcome to Zahir Beauty. Today, we're going to analyze the beauty of Marilyn Monroe's face and find out what made her so attractive. First of all, we must consider that Marilyn's face has changed a lot throughout her life because of cosmetic procedures. And most of the photos of that time are black and white, grainy and low resolution. I'm going to make a lot of use of test photos taken in the recordings of the movies she acted in throughout the 1950s. Norma Jeane Mortenson was born on the 1st of June 1926 and died on the 4th of August 1962 at the age of 36. She was 5 feet 5 inches tall. Marilyn Monroe was an actress, model and singer. She starred in films like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, The 7-Year Itch and Some Like It Hot. As a Hollywood movie star, she became an icon of 20th century popular culture, immortalized by her blonde hair, her sensuality and her voluptuous forms. Her charisma, talent, sensuality and physical beauty made her admired to this day. Here I will analyze only the beauty of her face. Marilyn has a heart-shaped face. The most prominent feature of her face is the wide forehead and the narrower jaw. The contours of the face are smooth and rounded. Marilyn Monroe has a very feminine face. Let's start by analyzing Marilyn Monroe's eyes. Her face underwent several transformations throughout her life due to plastic surgeries, and her eye region was the most affected. The eye region is very important for the female face. And women can look good with all eye and eyebrow shapes. When younger, she had almond-shaped, hooded eyes with a slightly positive canthal tilt. Hooded eyes are when there is a flap of skin covering the upper eyelid. And she went from this to this. She started to have eyes with a very apparent upper eyelid and a negative canthal tilt, giving that droopy look. I will now explain in detail each of these changes. She had beautiful, harmonious eyes. Why did she do it? What kind of procedure did she have? She made these changes early in her career. She probably had eyebrow lift surgery and upper blepharoplasty, which is the partial removal of skin in the upper eyelid region. This left her eyebrows higher and eyelids drooping. Why did she do it? It is difficult to understand her motivations, because she has always hidden her plastic interventions from the public. I believe that she was probably dissatisfied with her forehead. And by lifting the eyebrows, it helped to fill the forehead and shorten it. See, in this scene, the stretched look of her eyebrows. This was a very invasive measure for an issue that could be resolved with visagism. Women with big forehead can simply wear a hairstyle with bangs. Take the example of Zooey Deschanel. This eyebrow lifting surgery has become trendy and often ends up causing disharmony in the eye area. See the example of Selena Gomez before and after the brow lift. Selena Gomez had beautiful hooded eyes, and after the procedure he started to have a greater exposure of the upper eyelid. Back to Marilyn. Let's look at the details carefully. When younger, Marilyn Monroe had almond-shaped, hooded eyes. And she had a slightly positive canthal tilt. See how the line from the inner corner to the outer corner of the eye forms a positive angle. Then her eyes took on a downturn shape. This happens because after the surgery, the canthal tilt, which was positive, became negative. See how the line from the inner corner to the outer corner of the eye forms a negative angle. In women, positive and neutral tilt are most appreciated. The negative tilt will depend on the person's face type. Examples of women with negative canthal tilt: Camilla Belle, Katie Holmes and Helen Hunt. In men, this same feature considerably decreases attractiveness. Her eyes are horizontally longer than they are vertically tall. The height-to-length ratio is approximately 1 to 2.4. Note also that Marilyn had her eyes a little apart from each other. The interocular spacing is approximately 1.2 times the width of the eye. Ideally, this distance should be the same measure as an eye. Her eyes are very symmetrical. Notice how the pupil of both eyes lines up perfectly. They have a reasonable depth, neither too deep nor too protruding. Marilyn has large eye sockets. When younger, the shape of the medial canthus of her eyes pointed downwards. The medial canthus is this region indicated in the image. However, After plastic surgery, the shape of the commissure became less defined. Before, she had hooded eyes. Afterwards, she started to have her upper eyelids very exposed. Notice how she lost the skin in the eyelid crease. This is not an attractive feature on the female face nor on the male face. This gives the appearance of a tired and lazy look. Minimal upper eyelid exposure is more desirable and is also an indicator of health and youth. A drooping eyelid, also called ptosis, is usually a consequence of some disease. In Marilyn's case, most likely it was because of unsuccessful plastic surgery. She used various makeup tricks to hide it, and she often tilted her chin forward when taking a picture. She had white sclera with no scleral exposure. The sclera is the white part of the eye, and the ideal is that the lower eyelid passes through the edge of the iris. And what color were Marilyn's eyes? There is much controversy on this point. She had dark blue eyes. In some photos they may look a different color due to lighting, poor quality of photos, or even editing. Blue eyes are a bonus to attractiveness. Her height and eye color information was taken from the coroner's report. Her eyebrows were thin and arched, and they got a lot more arched after the eyebrow lift. Her eyebrows also are positively tilted. She has a wide spacing between her eyes and her eyebrows, and the spacing got even bigger after the aesthetic procedure. This is a very feminine trait. And the brow ridge is smooth and gracile, which is expected due to the female dimorphism. Let's analyze the middle third of Marilyn Monroe's face. She has an extremely compact mid-third with a 1:0.85 ratio, which gives her face a more childlike look. The ideal is a value close to 1:1. She has moderate cheekbones, as we can see in this photo. Marilyn's cheeks were smooth contoured. Marilyn had a forward growth maxilla. Her nose was small and its tip was bulbous. The nose is very important for women. Her nostrils have a good inclination, neither downturned nor upturned. The nasolabial angle is 86 degrees, and they form an angle of 120 degrees relative to the vertical plane. The height of the nose is 1.4 times its width, which is a great proportion. The ratio of face width to nose width is approximately 4:1, which makes your nose thin. And the nasal dorsum is straight. Marilyn had a rhinoplasty to reshape her nose and make the tip smoother. From the photos I didn't notice any significant changes. The changes made were discreet and imperceptible. And finally, the nose has a good inclination in relation to the face. The nasofacial angle is 36 degrees, a great value. What can we say about her jaw? Is it true she had a chin implant? The lower third of the face is of great importance for both genders, but women look good in more jaw shapes. Women with masculine jaws are perceived as sensual and seductive. Women with round jaws are perceived as cute and youthful. Marilyn's jaw is smooth with rounded contours as seen in this photo. The width of the mandible is 81% of the bizygomatic width. These values are pretty flexible for the female face. When younger, she had tight hyoid skin, which is this region indicated in the image. This is an indicator of health and youth. The ratio between the length of the philtrum and chin is approximately 1:2, which is a normal ratio for women. The thirds of the mandible are more or less equivalent to each other. She had a moderate chin projection and normal proportions. She had a cartilage implant in the chin region around 1950. However, the cartilage was reabsorbed by the body. Only the scar remained at the surgical site. Also, I couldn't see any significant differences between the photos before and after 1950. It would be necessary to have photos with the same pose, lighting and facial expression to make the comparison. Marilyn had a forward growth mandible. The best way to observe this is to draw a perpendicular line from the nasal bridge as we see in this image. Her jaw forms an angle of approximately 24 degrees from the horizontal. The gonion, which is the region indicated in the photo, lines up in the same direction as the mouth. Also remarkable is the more rounded shape of the jaw with smooth contours. And the gonion forms a 130-degree angle, which makes your jaw slightly steep, but still within the norm for women. And the ramus of the mandible has an average length. In general, Women tend to have a more open angle of the gonian, a shorter ramus, and a steeper mandible than men. Marilyn Monroe has a very harmonious and smooth lower third. What about Marilyn Monroe's hair? She had a good hairline, with a well-defined widow's peak. Widow's peak is this V-shape that the hair forms on the upper front of the forehead. He had a cosmetic procedure called electrolysis. At the time, this procedure was used to remove the fine hairs along the hairline. We can see in this photo how she had more accentuated hairlines and a much clearer widow's peak. Her hair was full, curly and naturally auburn. It brought together two extremely rare recessive traits. It's a rarity for a person to be both red-haired and blue-eyed. And she dyed her hair platinum blonde and touched up her roots weekly. Other features. When she was younger, she had a plumper face, which is normal for young women. Afterwards, she was left with a moderate level of facial fat. In this photo without makeup we can see that she had some freckles, which is normal for redheads. Her mole was legit. Before she became famous, Marilyn Monroe used to cover the mole on her face with makeup. After the fame, she started to enhance her mole with makeup and it became her beauty mark. She had clean skin with no signs of acne and scars. She had firm skin under her eyes, no signs of eye bags. She had no signs of wrinkles on her forehead or eyes, and she had no nasolabial folds. In general, she had fair skin that was smooth and well groomed. Her lips were full. Lips are of great importance to women. Her teeth were white, straight and without gaps. She had normal-sized ears but had unusually shaped ears, so she always covered them with her hair. When younger, the thirds of her face were roughly equal in size, with the lower third being slightly larger in height. However, after the eyebrow lift, she got a shorter forehead. The ratio between the height and width of the face is approximately 1.4 to 1, very proportional. The ratio of forehead width to height is 2.3 to 1, which gives the appearance of a wide forehead. The ideal ratio is 2 to 1. The neck-to-face width ratio is very close to 3.4 to 5, which conveys femininity. Let's get to the final thoughts. In summary, we can conclude that Marilyn Monroe has a very feminine face with juvenile features such as a very compact mid-face and a large forehead. Her striking points are her full lips and well-proportioned nose. The jawline is smooth with rounded contours. Her eyes are a controversial point. Marilyn Monroe's gaze was enshrined in popular culture as sensual and captivating. However, without makeup her look loses much of its charm. Plastic surgeries have left your upper eyelid with a large exposure similar to cases of ptosis. They disharmonized the natural beauty of her eyes. Sadly, Marilyn Monroe passed away early at age 36 from an overdose of barbiturates. But her memory will live on in the minds of her fans and admirers. What did you think of today's video? What do you think of Marilyn Monroe's beauty? Do you prefer her version before or after plastic surgery? Comment your opinion here, click the like button. We're done here now, and see you later.